Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
If you deny us service, we will be handing you a human rights violation as well. So.
Can I show you something, friend? Can I show you this?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Transporting individually?
You guys are
Well, we're not going
insane.
to transport them. We'll just.
They're basically saying we're taking away your freedom for your safety. Same thing fascist regimes have said in the past.
And I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just, we organized together like this because we don't really recognize the communities we grew up in. And if we can be arrested for not wearing a piece of paper over our faces, what's to come next? And that's what I want to leave the viewer with. And I hope Canadians can reflect on that. And, some people can come to their senses about what's going on.
There are 5 different people who have consistent evidence that support the defense's position. And they help us in verifying, by having multiple sources of verification, what actually transpired in this store.
When it comes to discrimination against people who are unable to wear a mask, something tells me that Chapters Indigo might be voted number 1 by the people of Canada. Do you remember this former Olympian? She has no hands, and yet Chapter still saw it acceptable to refuse sale of items to her and actually threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. This young boy is autistic, and he and his mom were also denied service because he's unable to wear a mask. And today I'm going to interview not 1, not 2, but 5 people who were recently arrested at a Coquitlam Chapters after they claimed being exempt from wearing a mask. You're not going to want to miss this story. And they also happen to be 5 of our newest Fight the Fines cases. So if you're tired of hearing stories like this, we encourage you to go to fightthefines.com to join this fight with us by donating whatever you can to support their legal defense and hundreds of other Canadians.
So we walked into Chapters, we claimed we have a medical exemption, and they were trying to block us from walking in. We still walked in, and then he told us we're gonna call the cops. He called the cops came in, and they were like, you have to leave. And we told the cops too that we have a medical exemption, and one of them had said having a medical condition isn't a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time we've heard people say that, but if you look at the public health order, there's actual 7 to 9 different reasons people can be exempt from wearing a mask. So it is definitely a thing. Now, let's back up here. I can understand that it might look a little weird for 5 people to go into a store without a mask at the same time. So what's your reasoning for that?
Well, there was a man at the weekend before that had tried to enter Chapters, and he was medically exempt, but he was wearing a bandana around his face. And they ended up, did they call the police on him? I believe so. And they kicked him out. So, we have medical exemptions, and we thought that we would come together to kind of advocate for these people that are, having to deal with this and, treated like second-class citizens just because they want to shop without a mask, because that's their rights as a Canadian citizen if they have a medical condition.
That's a good point. That's not the first time that people have been discriminated against for something, and then people come together and kind of in protest almost. But you guys were in fact being customers, right?
Oh, yeah. I went in there. I had books that I had planned to pick up before I even went there, and actually went around, found the book on the computer that I was looking for, and went and found it on the shelves. And that was when the police came in and started telling us that we had to leave. And, no matter what we were telling them, no matter what we were saying, they didn't want to listen to us and telling us that we were breaking the law. And I even brought up the Government Canada page and mask exemption and pointed out to him, this is not illegal. And he told me, it doesn't matter, you're breaking the law, you have to get out.
So let's backpedal just a little bit here. The security guard said something really interesting about the reasoning why you guys shouldn't be in there without a mask. Did you want to touch on that?
Well, he just basically said that because we weren't allowed in the store because we didn't have a face covering, as simple as that, and that no one else would be allowed into the store basically. So he barred the door immediately after we came in, and things escalated from there.
And take a look at this as well. Listen to this.
But most of us are not vaccinated.
Okay.
So what do you think that was all about?
I just thought it was very strange that as soon as we got in there, he started to keep repeating over and over that because not everyone had been vaccinated, that we weren't allowed to be in the store without a face covering. So very strange.
Yeah, that's Twilight Zone, the times that we're in. Now, these are all 5 of our newest Fight the Fines cases. And they're all criminal charges. These are young people being charged for shopping, being treated like criminals. So if you guys want to support that, it is going to be a very expensive one. We agreed to help people with fines. You guys didn't even receive fines. So the bar goes up when it's criminal charges, and you can help support their defense and hundreds of more Canadians at fightthefines.com. Now, one of you ended up with assault charges.
So when we entered the store, I was one of the people that was in the back, and initially the security guard had put their hands on her, and I was in the back and walked in. I told them they are not allowed to touch anyone, and so that was it. I didn't touch anyone. No one touched me. And then when I was put in the back of the cop car and taken back to the police station, I overheard them saying that they were going to pursue assault charges, which I had then said, how can you be doing that? No one touched anyone. And then when I got my paperwork, it said that there was an assault charge on there. And when we got out, she had one on her charges, and it was crossed out. And then I received it. And there's no reason as to why I received an assault charge. I mean, I don't have a criminal record, and I'm not a violent person. I'm an innocent Canadian citizen. So, yeah, it's pretty unreal.
Well, from the footage that was available, it appeared as though all of you complied and seemed like you were willing to go with the police officer. There was some discussion from the officers. They were asking you guys to give your IDs. Now, did you want to talk about, who wants to talk about why you weren't giving your IDs?
Well, the reason why we declined to give the officers our IDs were because we didn't commit a crime and there was no suspicion of any crime committed. So when I repeated that to the officer, they seemed to get frustrated. We then showed them the medical exemption pamphlet. That's a printout that the provincial government offers for people that are exempt to keep on them. He just basically scoffed at it and said it wasn't real. So we just felt like it was, within our rights to decline our showing our IDs, and then from there we were arrested. So, yeah.
Well, according to the BC Civil Rights page here, when it talks about having to identify yourself, there are 3 different reasons you have to. One is if you're under arrest. 2 is if you're driving a car. Passengers in the car do not have to give the police their names or addresses. And 3, a police officer is giving you a ticket or a fine. So we've hired a great criminal defense lawyer to get to the bottom of these guys' cases, including combing through the surveillance on chapters, which would definitely show if you, in fact, assaulted somebody.
With the Unmasked 5, and specifically Bailey, it's an ongoing case. And it is still at the early stages. And so we are limited in how much we can share and the details that we can give. Suffice it to say that the defense has a strong case. There are 5 different people who have consistent evidence that support the defense's position. And they help us in verifying, by having multiple sources of verification, what actually transpired in this store. We're looking to get all the evidence available, including video cameras and recordings, in order to show that what 5 people are saying is correct and is factual and will constitute a defense against these charges that these people should not be facing. We will keep you abreast of developments in this case, and we look forward to your continued support through the donations to the Democracy Fund, which make a huge difference in the defense that is provided for people facing these charges. We thank you very much for your support.
All right, so you guys, like I said, you're young. What would it be like to be in this situation and not be getting any legal help?
I mean, it would be pretty devastating, you know, with everything that's gone on with COVID and people are struggling to, you know, survive, pay for regular bills and everything. That would, you know, completely, you know, almost dismantle someone's life if you had to pay for all of those. And, you know, especially an assault charge, that's a big thing. And it's kind of reckless to be handing those out for absolutely no reason. Yeah.
And actually, did you hear a conversation about the officers giving or deciding about who's getting assault charge as well?
Yeah, so I was in the back seat of the cop car and they were discussing, saying that we are going to pursue assault charges on them, which at that point I said there's no reason to be, you know, giving any assault charges because no one touched anyone. And the police officer told me that that's not how this works. And then he said he had mentioned that one girl was going to get an assault charge, the girl with the red hair. And then I said she didn't touch anyone. Initially, the security guard touched her. And then when I received my charges, I was the one that had the assault charge on it. And her charges had an assault charge written on it, but then it was crossed out. And I was the only one that received it out of all 5 of us. And actually, we were all charged a little bit differently than each other.
Yeah, there's a comb of different charges. And actually, I did do a media inquiry to reach out to the Coquitlam RCMP to get their side of the story. They didn't say much except for that the 5 individuals were arrested and charged with obstruction and mischief, no mention of Bailey's assault charges, and that the charges have been forwarded to the Crown Counsel for consideration. Now, is there anything either of you wanted to say?
The last thing I wanted to say is we all need to unite before it's too late. We can't keep on letting them get away with this. They're basically saying we're taking away your freedom for your safety. Same thing fascist regimes have said in the past.
And I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just, you know, we organize together like this because we don't really recognize the communities we grew up in. And if we can be arrested for not wearing a piece of paper over our faces, what's to come next? And that's what I want to leave the viewer with. And I hope Canadians can reflect on that. And, you know, some people can come to their senses about what's going on.
Well, these 5 claimed their exemption and also stood up for freedom. And that's why we're standing at them. It's not going to be easy cases to fight, but we hope that you join the fight with us by heading to fightthefines.com and donating whatever you can. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News.
I just wanted to say thank you for taking our case and thank you to the people watching us that are going to be donating at fightthefines.com.